Hey, how you doing today? It's me and Tish. We're here for Rise of the False Gods book study. Rise of the False Gods, Transformation through Illumination. Hopefully you'd like to get some illumination on why the prison system doesn't seem to be working and how it can. See, that's that whole thing. The What we want to look at as we go through this whole book study is why things in our life don't work. So in order to figure that out, we have to look at what's going on, what we're doing it about it, and whether or not um, anything changes. Generally, things don't work because we're not working them. So if this is your first time in this book study, I invite you to go to Amazon.com and type in Rise of the False Gods, Alicia Leslie, and you will find the whole series of videos there. And I encourage you to check them out. Okay, well, Tish and I are ready for tonight, and I will be starting. Ooh, look at all the progress we've made. And always remember, questions and comments are welcome. I can't sometimes see them when they come up because of the way my computer doesn't show them. But I look after the class, after the study, I look and I find any questions and answer them and acknowledge comments. So here we go. Today, as I said, we are looking at prisons. Kind of a long chapter. I'm going to hopefully we'll be able to get through it tonight. Okay. So we are on page 161. And it says, mostly the prison system is not working. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are going to say, there's good people in there. They're working hard. They're doing the best they can. And I'm not going to deny that. There are a lot of people that are dedicated to their jobs and see this as a way of helping the best they can. But we want to take a very honest look at this. The United States, in case you're not aware, has the highest incarceration rate with 2.2 million behind bars. Now, of that 2.2 million, 6% are from abroad. Prisons are filled with broken people. Some want help and can't get it. Others don't want help, although that's really hard to believe. But I guess sometimes you get to a point in your life where, you just figure, why bother? But then there are the ones who would like to have help but don't believe they can be helped. And that's really sad because we want to try to, see everybody live a meaningful life. Every baby that's born, the beauty in those eyes of that beautiful soul that's been incarnated. Um, they're not born that way, I don't think. Uh, so anyway, let's see. Of all the people who are released from prison, 2/3 return within 3 years, often for a serious and more violent offense. So whatever they go in with, they come out, they go back with something worse. Well, hello, is that not what we've been talking about for how long now? Cause and effect. If you don't change the cause, you got the effect. Then if you get the cosmic 2x4, which says this isn't working, don't address it, you get the 4x8, etc., etc. We cannot overlook things. A lot of times we try to escape the effects of the causes we send forth, or we let our emotions take over and somebody does something that's harmful or wrong or evil, and we might say, oh well, okay, and then next thing you know, there it is in our face again. That's because we need to have change. Over time, up to 90% are reincarcerated. What is wrong with this? Do you remember there was a time when prisons were called correctional facilities? But what was that correction? Was it just being locked up and getting more bitter and resentful and angry? Did anything happen? Now, I will acknowledge there are people, let's say it's that 10% that never goes back. There are people who escape, by learning, by enlightenment, by finding a new life. It's just that there's a lot that are left behind. The brokenness remains. This these this research came from a New York Times article. We need to learn to identify and fix the brokenness. We have to see what's working, what's not. We have to think out of the box. I know there's a TV show that I think I might have watched it once. I think there's people that really do like the show, and it's called Pit Bulls and Parolees, I believe. And what they do is they match up um, dogs. Now, I don't know that they're all pit bulls. I think some prisoners were training dogs for service dogs to help people that are blind or whatever. And so they need a certain amount of training and they match them up with, I don't know if it's parolees or prisoners, but the basic bottom line is they get help and they grow through the process. So it's a good thing to think about. One of the greatest problems we have regarding prison reform is our eye for an eye perspective on crime and the perpetrators. If we or someone we love is the victim of a criminal, that definition is totally understandable. You hurt me, you hurt my kid, I will have no mercy on you. God, but we were told that we had to have mercy. But again, it's not a pat on the back saying, well, that's okay. It's finding the causes that are bringing about the behavior so that it can be changed. If we or someone, excuse me, we believe they need to be punished. I do. Even the punishment they have received may not appear to be sufficient to us, and sometimes it's not. There are people who know how to buy their way around the system. But if the punishment is not fixing the problem, we are perpetuating it. So if we don't fix it, it's going to get worse. Is that God punishing us? No, it is it's like Myrtle Fillmore said, we are not punished for our sins, we are punished by our sins. If we don't correct something, doing the same thing the same way over and over and expecting a different result is insanity. Now, those other results, like the Pit Bulls and Parolee program, are out of the box. There's another program they do for incorrigible young people. What is that called? It's like a scared straight thing. It's where they put the kids in prison for a day and scare the bejesus out of them and see if that helps them straighten up their lives by seeing what it's really like. But it's a different kind of program. If one thing's not working, try another. There's a beautiful word. It's called experiment. So if you try something and it's not working and you say, well, we have to do something else, what am I going to do? Especially when you get to thinking out of the box, you don't have to hang your whole life on it. Say, let's try this experiment. experiment. We'll see how it works out. Give it a certain amount of logical time to evaluate it and see if the idea worked. Don't just, you know, dump a program because you tried it and right away it didn't work. Things didn't get messed up overnight, and they're not going to get fixed up overnight. Okay. Yes, we want retribution. We either can't see another way or choose not to. This is error. Emotion is fueling our thoughts rather than principle. Okay, so you remember the four quadrants of consciousness? The upper two quadrants are intuitive sensing, and the lower two are human thought, the thought processes, and human emotion. We have to look at it from up here, not from down there. You know, there are chances that if you met some people that have been in prison or jail and they've come out of it and they've straightened up their lives, you'd never know they were in jail. You'd never know they had a prison sentence behind them because they turned their life around. But boy, it's easy to judge them, you know. Um, Back in the day when I had a dance troupe, I wanted to go and perform for the women's prison. And that was, or I don't know if it was a jail or a prison, but it was, I don't know. Anyway, correctional facility, as it were. So some of my girls, their husbands would not let them go. They were afraid for them. And I don't remember who went that day. There were like 4 or 5 of us anyway. And we went and we performed for the women and we taught them a little bit about the dance and we let them try it out. And I hope that we made a difference that day. You know, the Bible teaches us and calls us out to visit the prisoners. You know, it's like that. Remember, we talk about that thing when we talk about being in circulation and giving to others and like providing for the homeless or food. And remember that phrase that it's not what we give, but what we share. For the gift without the giver is bare. Now, if we had a closer facility here, and of course, if COVID wasn't around, I would not be adverse to go and visit prisoners. They do have programs. And one time when I called, when our church was looking for something to do with them, they actually at that time had a full program. But again, is it entertaining or is it enlightening? Does it help people to change their lives? I'm just putting that out there, just to think about. James Gilligan, a clinical professor of psychiatry and adjunct professor of law at New York University, published an article in the New York Times stating, "The only rational purpose for a prison is to restrain those who are violent while we help them change their behavior and return to the community." He states that generations of studies have revealed when children are punished with severity and violence, they become violent adults. And that was a New York Times article from December 9th, 2012. Again, it's cause and effect. I've said it over and over. Violence breeds violence. We have to break the cause and effect negative cycle and create a positive cause and effect cycle. A powerful deterrent to reoffending is education. From elementary school through graduate school, education has been 100% effective for years and even decades in preventing recidivism. That means people going back to jail. A complication in getting the education to the prisoners is that many have learning disabilities and cannot read. And a lot of times people misunderstand, a disability with a disinterest. And also the lack of faith that happens inside of that person that they can't do it. With low reincarceration, tens of thousands of dollars would be saved by the taxpayers. If a thing seems to be too good to be true, it probably is. Change is difficult, but can be done. The current plan to pull back on supporting education in prison is sabotaging both the prisoners and the taxpayers. They're not out there having a good time, hanging out in prison, getting free food. And no, it's not an easy life. And the revolving door goes around and out they go, and then they come back. The cost of incarceration increase with each day. Now, I was quite stunned a number of years ago when I realized there are now privately run prisons as well as federally or state run prisons and jails. It's like anything else. It's not what you got, it's what you do with it. A lot of times for profits are in it exactly for that, for profit, and the prisoners, the inmates, are a commodity. It's like anything else. You want to fill the seats, right? Fill the beds in the hotel, fill the beds in the prison. Prisons are already overcrowded and under effective. When mammon is embedded, which is what? The false god that money is our good. When you bring that into the system, millions trade hands, lobbyists push for their influence, and politicians make money in the deal. There was a man who was running for re-election. I can't remember where it was. It was in a southern state, and he was, I believe, the sheriff. And the prisoners had a certain amount of money that was to be spent for food. And what he would do is he would pinch and feed the prisoners with as little money as he could and keep the rest. And that was legal. Legal, maybe. Moral, hell no. If money is allotted to feed prisoners, God, isn't it all they got? Decent food? The prisoners often become a commodity to a for-profit prison. The advantage and disadvantage of private prisons involve cost, efficiency, and effectiveness. When a private prison is operating with best practices and focused on rehabilitation, it can be a beneficial addition to the community. Unfortunately, many corporations have a reputation of focusing on profits over purpose, and this can create numerous hardships. And when you bring in corruption, and where does corruption come in? Through the false gods of mammon, which is where's the money, and Baal, power. Give me the power. The source of that information was journalisticresource.org and an article by David Trilling, and vitana.org article February 28th, 2018. This is relatively fresh information. We have to believe change is possible. We have to shift the paradigm and see others through the eyes of God. Yes, they are criminals. Yes, they perpetrated crimes and they need to pay pay for their crime. But we tend to look at them as pariahs and like, we don't see any redeeming value in them. What if we tried to see redeeming value in people? What if we treated them like human beings? Um, you know, when we look at convicts, we can't see them as they are, which is abused children in adult bodies. Is that easy? Heck no. Is it healing? Absolutely. Crime is an effect of cause sent forth. To change the effect, we must change what is behind it. We don't want to be foolish and fall victim to crime after crime. A lot of people, women, will start, they'll be pen pals to prisoners. Next thing you know, they think they got an affair going on and the person loves them. And I mean, and it's easy for a person in prison when someone's giving them attention to say, oh my God, somebody loves me. I'm worth something to somebody. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Uh, a woman had a pen pal relationship with a prisoner, and then she worked to help him and another guy escape. But no, that's not the right way. That's not how these things work, okay? I'm not wearing rose colored glasses and an airy fairy pair of wings. It is a real mess. But it's a serious mess. And because of the seriousness of the mess, we have to realize the importance of trying to find a way to address it. That's all the more reason to utilize the wisdom at our fingertips. I'll tell you something I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for people in churches and stuff that have ministries that they bring the prisoners goodie bags that they have to follow rules. If a church wants to bring goodie bags to the prisoners, they're very limited. It has to be like toiletries, like for a new toothbrush and toothpaste and maybe deodorant and who knows what, but it all has to be clean. And then you can stick some of your material or a book or something like that. Joyce Meyer has a prison ministry. Unity, actually, Daily Word does have a ministry for things like prisons. It's called Silent 70, and they do provide the daily word to go to people in prison. So we are doing things. I think all could do better to learn how to uh, maybe find a way to visit prisoners or whatever. Don't put on rose-colored glasses and see things in a different light than what it is. A cautionary note. More than 2,300 children that were taken from their families at the Mexican border were most likely traumatized by the event. Trauma changes who the children are. We don't know what the outcome of this will be down the road, but I was reminded as I wrote this of a line from the movie The Help. Aibileen, one of the maids, is telling Skeeter about the loss of her son and how disrespectfully he was treated after his accident, which also added um, to his death. And she said, a bitter seed was planted in me that day. And I wonder how many bitter seeds were planted in the hearts and souls of those children who were taken from their parents and the parents who had their children taken. What kind of karma is there for that? What kind of effect will follow that cause that was sent forward? And can it be interfered with? Can it be changed? Cheryl said, our church did that last Christmas. We bought books and toiletries. You got to bring the toiletries if you want to get the books in there. And I think that's wonderful that your church did that. And maybe one day we can, talk about visitation programs and things like that. Will the boys who were taken grow a bitter seed of hate for America and Americans? Consider the law of cause and effect. What will be the effect of that cause? To youth, they brought him to a youth detention center. Well, that's good, and I hope the youth received that with joy. I'm actually a little early tonight, so I got a little teeny piece next. Why don't we go ahead and do that? Maybe we'll be 5 minutes late, but we'll be ahead for tomorrow. You know what? I'm not going to because I just noticed I've got another one after it that's kind of long. So I think I will skip that. We'll deal with it tomorrow. So tomorrow we will be looking at taxes, and that will be the end of what's not working. And then we're going to go on to what's your excuse? That's something to think about. Until then, thank you so much for being with me tonight. And please say prayers for my precious daughter, Mimi, whose birthday it is today. And she is her regular birthday. She's older than I am now. She's 48 today. And she is several months clean and sober and having a job and a new life. And hold her in your prayers for joy in her recovery and the best birthday she could have with hope in her future. That's it for tonight. God bless you. Have a bright, beautiful, better than average day. Bye bye.